Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Emmy the Cat Lady, and you join me here in the Commonwealth outside. Believe it or not, this building is actually a school. It doesn't really look like a school from the outside, even, you know, if we ignore the big spikes and the gore bags and things. But yes, here we are. So this is Shaw High School, which is in the Commonwealth, obviously, and it's located sort of just to the west of Jamaica Plain and right next to Milton General Hospital and West Roxbury Station. And obviously you can tell it's currently occupied by some super mutants, but that's not really what we're interested in today. It is a location that you very often do get sent to for one of the kind of faction radiant quests. They'll send you here to clear out the mutants or to do something, but we are more interested in what happened before the war. There we go. So yeah, you can see that the super mutants have been making themselves right at home. There is something alive in here. Today we are interested in a story about blackmail and about plans backfiring and things like that. So there are two people that we want to talk about today. One is the principal of the school, a man named Ronald Tanner, and the other one is a student named Rusty Burton. And there's definitely quite an interesting background to these people, so we're gonna... So there's a few memos that have been sent out by Principal Tanner, which are quite entertaining. So school has seen quite the jump in average standardised test scores as of late, and congratulations in order. So he'll be accepting an award at the school district meeting, and they are focusing on people closest to the project. And then, yeah, potential budget increases, but the increase will probably be minimal and will be allocated to equipment and facility upgrades. But there is a portion of the budget for a staff mixer next weekend for 45 minutes, which is interesting. And then this one here, I think, is concern about the delay in equipment upgrades that were recently promised. And he's dealing with it, and there's been a shipping error and things like that. So keep this stuff in mind. And then he's just like, you'll just have to kind of deal with what you've got until the new equipment arrives, even though it's delayed. So, you know, kind of seems kind of reasonable. But yeah, so these are kind of little facts to keep in mind in the future. Okay. Why does that mutant hound sound like the Titanic sinking? Anyway, how did I not realise that they make that noise? That is terrifying. There's some jet and stuff there, but yeah, also Mentats. Keep that in mind. So when you come upstairs here, there's a kind of study room that is kind of collapsed, but there's still a functioning terminal here called the student terminal, and in this lunch box, which is Rusty's lunch, is the office key for the principal's office. So I'm going to take that because we're going to go there first. Okay, so we've got the key from Rusty's lunch. We'll get back to him in a little while. But this is Principal Tanner's desk and Principal Tanner's terminal. So Principal Tanner is definitely not someone that wants to put the pal in principal. He was at one point a salesman for Vault-Tec. So you can see here, Vault-Tec sales job, and now this job that I hate so much. So he clearly doesn't enjoy working here as an educator and being a principal, and you know, you can see from the way he talks about the students as well. But the issue he's having is that the superintendent is at him about test scores, that the students' test scores aren't good enough, and he has to do something about it. And he thinks about corporal punishment, but thinks that the parents will complain. So yeah, interesting. And he basically hatches a plan to get a bigger budget for the the school. So he has a wee list here of potential students, including Rusty Burton. And yep, here's his plan. So it's all set up. I've targeted a small group of detention regulars, which are students who know how to get things done under the radar and how to keep their mouths shut. So he set them up with a steady supply of Mentats, which they'll distribute throughout the student body. I offer them longer lunch periods and I get better test scores out of the whole thing. Now I just sit back and wait for the federal funding to come rolling in. So this is his plan. Chems, obviously, yep. So he uses a handful of students that are troublemakers to distribute Mentats to the students in order to improve the test scores, which means more funding. And then you can see that that's, spring semester's over, time for summer, and he's got big plans to go to a new beach house. And he just has to have a meeting with Rusty Burton, and that'll be him done. And then he does this bit longer and he'll be ready to retire. So yeah, this is his plan. And it seems to have worked. So we've got this email from Superintendent Marcello. Excellent work on your numbers. Standardised test scores have skyrocketed since our talk last year. Bravo indeed. As per our discussion, the board and I have decided to grant you a substantial budget increase for the coming school year. Obviously, should be used for raising the salaries of the staff and administration and new equipment for the school. And they've earned it, and he's getting a pay increase as well, so keep up the good work. So the superintendent is happy about this situation. Yeah, and then as we saw some of the memos earlier, he says that, we're going to celebrate you, we're going to have a mixer, we're going to have some fun, but the budget increase isn't as big as people are thinking, which really contradicts with what we just saw from the superintendent. So he's obviously up to something. And then dealing with Rusty Burton. So this one here is quite a funny one to talk about. So email from the principal. All teachers and staff are hereby given the rest of the week off and should let their students go as well. When you receive this, please cancel all your plans, excuse your class leave in a quiet, orderly manner. I'll be very busy in my office adjusting my hairpiece, so under no circumstances am I to be notified or bothered. In addition, all students in Mr. Wellborn's history class will be graded on a scale of A to A- instead of the usual A to F. This change is in accordance to recent studies from the district office, and you all know how much I love district office. I'm an idiot, Principal Buttoots, P.S. Rusty Burton for Homecoming King. So that just kind of nails it of exactly who really sent that email, which is interesting. But the part that I think is the most ridiculous is this follow-up. It goes without saying that I'm extremely disappointed in the gullibility of the faculty during last week's events. I find it hard to believe that almost all of you did not realise that the memo was an obvious forgery. Those of you off for most of last week will unfortunately be docked pay for the days you missed. Perhaps this will remind you to be available by phone in off hours, and please take a moment to change your password on your terminals, as I've been told the default one has made the rounds among the students. And locks have been added to most doors for safety measures, and Rusty Burton will be absent from Mr. Wellborn's class for the next few weeks. Please have his homework available for him to pick up at the end of each day. So yeah, so we could tell that was all orchestrated by Rusty himself. I think we can open that door as well. So we've got the key for the library and the desk, which we've got the key for. That's quite handy. And yeah, I think we can open that door. There we go. And in here we have a very interesting stash of lots of whiskey and absolutely tons of Mentats. So if you're needing Mentats, you'll find plenty dotted about in this particular dungeon. So yeah, It's really quite funny. So the fact that, you know, the principal supposedly sent that email and everybody just believed it and didn't question it and just took the rest of the week off for no reason is kind of hilarious. And then we... wait, it's over this side, I think. Yeah. So already opened the library door, but we need to come over here. So there's this classroom, and then there's another kind of classroom off the side where the door is broken, but we have the working terminal. So Rusty's lunch, which is where you get the key for the principal's office. And then student terminal, it's still working, which is Rusty Burton, his terminal. So something's been done to it. So read-only settings isn't available, decency filters, vulgarity blockers and anti-gaming software is no longer functional on this terminal, and we'll find out why in just a second. So Rusty Burton, we look at, you know, basically everything that he writes. He's quite clearly supposed to be your typical sort of school bully type of kid. So yeah, he says anyone reading this and they're going to get an atomic wedgie that they'll never forget. So yep, so the first one here, I'm in, this terminal is mine. Can't believe that nerd Clayton fixed up this computer so it don't erase everything after class. Little geek done good, but I'm still taking his lunch money today. Maybe I won't pound him so hard, but I got to eat something. Anyway, this class is boring, but Mr. Ramirez flips out if I don't look like I'm typing. That therapist my mum makes me go to says I should write out my feelings more anyway, so what the hell, we'll see if this works. Rusty rules. So you can see clearly that he is a school bully, so even though he got another kid to sort out this computer the way he wanted it, he's still gonna beat him up and take his lunch money. And academically, clearly he's not doing too great. His spelling isn't good, his grammar isn't good. He's also apparently in therapy, but we don't really know why, so potentially there is some kind of sort of mental health or behavioural issue going on. Kind of makes sense. But yeah, interesting. And then Tanner sucks, so obviously talking about the principal, Tanner pulled me out of class today and I was pissed because I didn't even do anything. And then Tanner says he wants Rusty to sell Mentats around the school and has been offered a longer lunch period and stuff taken off his permanent record as part of the deal, and he's like, yeah, I already sell stuff, so it's not a problem to add Mentats to that list. So presumably he is also selling some kind of contraband. I mean, certainly when I was in high school we had quite an economy going around cigarettes and things. There was a lot of that kind of thing happen, so I would assume that, you know, stuff like that. So he just hands out the Mentats and it's a free ride for the rest of the year, and he's even tried a few of them. They make his head feel funny, but he feels that Mr. Ramirez is making sense now, so he's starting to kind of understand his teacher's lectures, which is interesting. Yep, so now we've got an update. So Tanner has kept up his part of our agreement, keeping my lunch hours as long as I distribute Mentats amongst the other students. Funny, he doesn't seem to notice that I've also been taking them. My parents have. I came home with a B+ test grade, and one that I'd earned myself. I didn't even have to copy off of Clayton. Tanner seems pleased though. I haven't quite put together why he would throw his hat in with me and other school miscreants for this goal, but I feel like I'm getting closer to figuring it out every day. Rusty Burton signing off. So a couple of things that you can see here about Rusty. One is that he is clearly taking the Mentats himself, and he is actually now doing better academically, that he got a decent grade on a test and he didn't even cheat in order to get it, so he earned that himself. But you can also see his spelling's improved and his grammar's improved and his vocabulary's improved as well. The old Rusty wouldn't be using terms like miscreants, you know. So you can see that there's a distinct improvement in his English and in his spelling and things. So he's getting smarter. He's adding points to his intelligence stat because of the Mentats. But he's also kind of, because of that, he's becoming a bit suspicious about the principal and why he's doing this. what benefit it has, because he obviously doesn't think that Principal Tanner's interests are for the sake of his students. So then we've got an intriguing development. I think I've deduced Principal Tanner's plot. After announcing a rise in test scores, it all became clear to me. Tanner hopes to earn himself some accommodations from Superintendent Marcello and the school board by raising standardised test scores. An ingenious plan, one that old Rusty wouldn't have pieced together, but how to turn this to my advantage. So he's starting to figure it out that, if better test scores means that potentially there's going to be some money coming into the school, and he thinks that maybe the principal has some plans for that. So, his master plan. So, as predicted, Tanner leaves his office door unlocked when using the restroom. He was able to sneak in and make a pressing of the key and clear, requisitioned from the art department. So again, this vocabulary is improving all the time. He's using bigger, more complicated words. And then using a new key. So he made an impression of the key and actually made a copy of the key to get into the office, get into his terminal, and found the Mentats stash and read all his terminal entries. So he now knows that the principal is using the test scores to increase school funds and pocketing most of it, so he's embezzling the money, and Rusty has figured this out. So now he has what he needs. He's arranged a meeting in the library study room with Tanner, because he's doing the work, and why shouldn't he benefit from the cash flow increase, and he'll be able to buy that telescope I've been wanting. So the interesting one. So Rusty has figured out that Principal Tanner is basically embezzling funds from the school and using him in order to do so by getting him to distribute the Mentats among the students and boost the test scores and things. So very, very sneaky little thing, and Rusty's like, right, I'm going to get this guy and I'm going to do something about this, which I really enjoy. So you can get the key and you can come in here to the library, which does have mines and stuff in it, so be warned. Presumably put there by other people or the super mutants. There's tripwire. Yeah, I'm getting better at spotting the traps. Sometimes I'm really good at it, sometimes I just walk straight into it and get exploded. Open this door and there's a desk here, so it's another locked door, but you find the key for the library in the principal's desk. Then you come in here and we have a holotape, property of R. Burton. There's also still some super mutants in here, but that's fine. So let's have a listen to this.
Alright, Burton, I'm here. Hurry up. Out with it. I have a lot of plans for this summer, and none of them involve chatting with you.
Why, Ronald, I'm hurt. Skipping the pleasantries and getting right down to business. And after all we've accomplished together this semester.
For the last time, you little snot, it's Principal Tanner.
Fine, Principal Tanner. I'll make this quick. You've been giving me Mentats to distribute to the students quietly and under the nose of the faculty. I have, because of this, test scores have skyrocketed. The school board has noticed. We received quite an increase in funding, but the faculty doesn't know. No one here knows except you. And now, me. You've been skimming off the top and pocketing most of the funds. I want 50% of what you're embezzling. We'll go to Superintendent Marcello with this.
What? How did you... When did you get so smart?
You've been giving me brain pills every week. What did you expect, you pathetic little man?
Well, so what if it's all true? No one's going to believe you. You're just a kid, and I'm the principal, and more importantly, an adult.
Oh, I think they'll believe me, Ronald. Especially after they hear you admit everything in your own words.
What are you talking about? Wait, is that a holotape? You son of a...
So it cuts off there, so we don't really know exactly what the outcome was, but it does really feel like Rusty has pushed the principal into a corner where he has no choice but to agree to Rusty's terms. And again, you can hear how intelligent the boy is in that conversation, and the fact that he has the foresight to record the conversation, so he knows, like, I need to confront him, but I need to have proof, or this blackmail business isn't really going to work. So, yeah, it's a very interesting one, and I really like this story because it's just funny. It's just funny, and the principal Tanner, he clearly doesn't really enjoy his career in education. It's not really the best career for him. He came here to do that after failing as a Vault Tech salesperson, so, you know, it really does seem like he's just interested in making a quick buck and making money as easily as possible. Obviously doesn't really care much about the law either. I mean, it's probably illegal to give mentats to children like that. If not, it probably should be. Definitely it's a questionable decision to make. And embezzling funds, especially federal funds, is also illegal. So he doesn't really care about whether something's legal or not. He just wants to kind of make his money so that he can knock off and retire early and just kind of go and live his life happily, which unfortunately was never going to be the case given the bombs fell shortly after this conversation happened. But there we go. And I think for Rusty, especially, that kid shows such a journey in his terminal entries and things, and you can see, you know, that he starts out that, you know, low intelligence, probably not very academic, struggles to really kind of understand things in school. His grammar's not great, his spelling's not great, but he then is presented with this deal and he kind of enjoys the idea of selling mentats. He's quite excited about it. He's happy to get extra lunch break or extended lunch breaks and things like that. But because he starts taking these mentats himself, that he massively improves his own intelligence, and you can see that in how the journal entries are written and how that progresses, that, you know, his spelling improves, his grammar improves, his vocabulary changes, that he's using, you know, bigger, more complicated words. He's not, you know, so he's obviously massively improving in that department, and that increased intelligence means that he now has the cunning and the shrewdness to figure out what the principal's doing, to figure out how to find out the truth, to have the forethought to record his confrontation with the principal, so that he can, you know, kind of make a bit of money off of this whole situation, because he thinks, well, he's doing all this work, why should he not get part of the profit from it as well? That should be part of the deal. So that's what he wants to say, and then he mentions at the end of his final entry, we'll have a look at that again, so I think this part is quite funny. So he says, finally I'll be able to buy that telescope I've been wanting. So he you know, the old Rusty wouldn't probably want a telescope. He doesn't really seem like the type that would be interested in, you know, astronomy and that kind of thing in science. But clearly this change in his intelligence levels has kind of given him a bit of an interest in things that he maybe wouldn't have bothered with before he started using the mentats. But obviously the question is that, you know, how good is, what's the impact on mentats on, especially, you know, growing brains, because we know that, you know, the brain isn't really fully developed until you're in your 20s. So, you know, could it have a permanent impact on these kids, and could it have a negative impact on these kids potentially as well, if they become reliant on mentats and, you know, that causes health problems? It's hard to say, but I think it's quite a fun little story. It's easy to miss if you don't go looking through the terminals and looking around, and especially if you've already got master lockpick and you can open most of the doors that you would need to get the keys for otherwise. But I just really enjoy it because you can see the changes in Rusty as he takes the mentats and his intelligence improves. And then he decides he's got to kind of sort things out with this principal who's literally just out to try and make money as quickly and as easily as possible. He's not trying to boost test scores because it's going to benefit the students. He's not doing that because it's going to be better for the school's image. He's doing it just because he wants more money, which, for when it comes to certain things, that's not a good enough reason, really. And I think most people would agree that, anything that you're doing in a school, a large part of it should be, it should be for the sake of the kids. It should be for the sake of improving education for the next generation and things. It's quite an interesting dungeon. I say most of the Radiant quests will send you here, but there's quite a lot of good loot in here. So you can find 8 overdue books and an Unstoppables comic book in here as well. And obviously there's a lot of Mentats, so the principal has a cupboard full of Mentats, and you do find them in the lockers and things all around the place as well. Obviously because they were getting distributed to the students, and it's clearly not something that the super mutants are interested in. They're probably not massively keen on boosting their own intelligence. This is obviously a science classroom which has a hand that is being dissected, so that's interesting. And a Tesla arc which will disarm. Chemistry station, which is kind of a unique looking one actually, if I remember. And then there's another teacher's terminal that just has all the memos and stuff from the principal. But yeah, it's an interesting location. There's a lot of good loot dotted about as well, and you might find yourself here. A lot of the Radiant quests for, like the Brotherhood will send you here to clear out the mutants, or the Railroad can send you here to sort of deal with things. A lot of the Radiant quests will send you here, but you need to have a good look through the terminals to really uncover this story, and I think it's a really fun one. I think every school, certainly every school in Fallout 4 seems to have a really interesting and funny story behind it, or something, weird that's going on. Like there's that one, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, where it's they're trialing this like nutritional food paste that's bright pink, and it's full of ghouls that are all pink because they've been eating the paste and stuff. That kind of thing. Every school really in Fallout 4 has something interesting going on that you can discover, and this one here at Shaw High School is one of my favourites because I just love the story where this kid who isn't academically very good and he's a bully, but then he starts taking Mentats and he changes drastically, and then goes ahead and blackmails the principal to make a bit of cash. So quite a fun little story there. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if there's any specific kind of characters or stories that you want me to talk about. I'm more than happy to look at that, and otherwise I'll see you all next time. Bye.